Good evening to you. I'm Danilo Evangelista, and welcome to our tropical weather outlook for September 30th, 2025, the last day of September here in the Atlantic Basin and the hurricane season. And on the last day of September, we are dealing with two hurricanes active at once. Hurricane Imelda, which became a hurricane earlier today, and Hurricane Humberto, which is significantly weakened in the last several hours after being quite a potent major hurricane just a day or two ago. But both of these will be very impactful, especially for the island of Bermuda. And I'm going to go over the potential impacts of Bermuda that will especially be felt by Imelda, as it will begin to turn on off to the northeast here and might make a direct beeline right over the island of Bermuda. They're going to be dealing with a lot here over the next several days. But other than that, two hurricanes active in the Atlantic right now. Humberto with maximum sustained winds at 80 miles per hour with a minimum central pressure of 979 millibars. And Hurricane Imelda, 85 miles per hour with a minimum central pressure of 978 millibars. They're even very similar in their current intensity right now. And here's a look at how they both look like on satellite imagery. And a lot of people have been talking about how this is such a cool sight to see two hurricanes as close as they are together here in the Atlantic. And now, obviously, both of them, look kind of sloppy. And that's to be expected since both of these hurricanes are very close together, meaning that they are more than likely imparting shear on each other, although right now it seems like Hurricane Humberto is dealing with more of the shear as it stands, and that's why this has weakened significantly over the past several hours, and it's likely to significantly weaken even more. In fact, in probably just a day or so, this is going to completely degenerate, and that's also partially due to the fact that both of these storms are very, very close to each other, that they're going to be doing a Fujiwara effect, and it seems like with Humberto, as it does the Fujiwara effect, it's going to disintegrate, and eventually its energy will kind of envelop or merge into Imelda's overall energy. And I guess Imelda is just going to become one large, powerful storm as it races off to the northeast here in the Atlantic. But meanwhile, Bermuda will be caught in the crossfires of everything that happens. And man, is there a lot that's going to happen to Bermuda here. In fact, I'll show you the National Hurricane Center forecast in just a little bit. But you can see here with Imelda right now, and it's honestly starting to get much better organized. Yesterday and the day before, it was kind of dealing with a lot of shear, although I think the day before it actually started to concentrate. But yesterday, it began to deal with a lot of shear. There's also a little bit of dry air that kind of wrapped around into Imelda a little bit, but it is still strengthening, and that is partially because of the interaction with the jet stream that it has here right now, and that's allowing its pressure and its winds to strengthen quite a bit, and we're probably going to see strengthening continue here with Imelda, and that's probably going to continue at least for the next several days here, and this will pass, again, very, very close, if not right over Bermuda, as a hurricane, and because of that, there are hurricane warnings in effect for the island of Bermuda right now. And I think this might even be a decent storm. I would not even be shocked if this gets to Category 2 intensity. So if you are in the island of Bermuda, you want to start batting down the hatches and start boarding up, preparing. And if you want to evacuate and leave the island, now is the time to do so. You guys roughly have about a day or two before this will begin to arrive. Looks like this will begin to cross over the island around Wednesday night, and impacts will probably be felt just before then. And you can already see the tropical storm force wind field here. It's decent. It's not ginormous. But I would imagine that it's definitely going to expand in its size. So I guess you could say probably by tomorrow afternoon, if not tomorrow evening, Bermuda will already be starting to feel the impacts of the wind field, even before the closest approach, maybe even the landfall, might occur here on the island. But I don't even think it matters that much, anyways. Bermuda is a very small island, and either way, it is definitely going to be dealing with tropical storm force winds and even hurricane force winds too. And just take a look at this, the tropical storm force wind speed probability here for the island of Bermuda. It is exactly in the highest probability, over 90% chance that Bermuda will deal with tropical storm force winds. So even if there's a small deviation in the track, let's say it passes barely just to the north or barely just to the south, this is still going to pass very close. And even if this does not make a full-on landfall in Bermuda, this still will probably get in the eye wall or even portions of the eye. So impacts are more than almost guaranteed that they will happen, and they'll probably be pretty significant here. I mean, we're dealing with a hurricane after all. There's also going to be rain. There's also going to be storm surge to be, to keep in mind of here. And just really quickly going over the GFS of how things are going to progress here in Bermuda. You can see here on the GFS over the next several days, we have Humberto, which kind of, does a thing where it begins to turn to the north and then eventually to the east here. And then it disintegrates quite rapidly. And then as Imelda then comes up here and begins to cross Bermuda, the energy of Humberto then kind of wraps up and kind of merges here into the energy of Imelda. And I'd imagine that's also probably going to have an amplifying effect on impacts here in Bermuda, as it's going to be dealing with the combining energies of two systems. But either way, we will probably be feeling some pretty impacts here in the island of Bermuda. And then eventually, as we head into Thursday and then into Friday, this thing then pulls away and then quickly races on off to the northeast in the Atlantic. But at least over the next several days here, if you're in the island of Bermuda, please keep a very, very close eye out as Hurricane Imelda is coming your way, and you are very likely to feel the impacts of this system. And I really quickly do want to show you what the total precipitation will be. And it's going to be pretty heavy, at least the GFS here forecasting roughly around 4 to 6 inches of rain here in Bermuda. So that's roughly around half a foot of rain. Not the most amount of rain that's devastating, but it is still heavy rainfall nonetheless. Could lead to flooding, could lead to issues on the roadways, and you also have the storm surge factor for Bermuda as well. And let's actually really quickly see what the storm surge forecast is for Imelda. If we could find it here. Not sure if it's there. I think it's in the public advisory. Is there any forecasted storm surge anywhere here? I don't think so. So interesting. No forecast for the storm surge. I guess maybe storm surge will not be as huge of an issue here, but still keep an eye out on it. And regardless, this is a hurricane, so I'm pretty sure you don't need to have another factor to force you to prepare for what's going to happen here with Imelda. But beyond Imelda, looks like the tropics in the Atlantic will continue. Now, there aren't any solid signals for a specific system yet, but as you can see here on the 12Z Euro, there is some interesting ensembles here in the Bahamas, but there's also another signal here for potentially more development to occur in the MDR, and this roughly happens as we head into next week, especially the latter portion of next week. And also, you see that there is a signal here in the Bay of Campeche, and generally something I'd assume more or less associated with the Central American gyre setup that we might be getting here in the next week or so in the far western Atlantic. And so we're going to have to watch very closely because the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico and the Western Atlantic in general are the most favorite areas, especially as we progress into the month of October. And I'm going to go a little bit more in depth on that tomorrow, as tomorrow will be the first day of the month. But climatology tends to favor the Caribbean and the Gulf for very powerful activity, um, and especially in the last several years and looking throughout history, sometimes our most powerful storms have come out of the Caribbean, especially the northwestern Caribbean in the month of October. But also we'll have to keep an eye out here on the MDR too, because I think I might have said this recently, but it looks like, especially in the last several years, the MDR has been starting to become much more active too in the month of October, as the peak of the hurricane season has seemingly been shifting later and later on in the season, and definitely we're dealing with a much later peak here in the Atlantic this year. But nonetheless, we are dealing with a peak, and part of that is having these two very interesting hurricanes, Humberto and Imelda, which are pretty much dancing with each other, as I put here in the title. But ultimately, once again, that will end not very well for Bermuda, as they are going to be dealing with the impacts, especially of Imelda here in the next several days. And I will continue to keep you guys informed. Follow me on Twitter for more updates, and also follow me here on YouTube as well, as we'll be doing more videos, maybe multiple throughout the next several days. Well, definitely at least one video per day, as Bermuda deals with the Imelda here, but we'll maybe even do other updates to keep you updated on what's going on. But subscribe to my channel nonetheless. Turn on the notification bell so you can get the videos the moment I upload them. But with that being said, I'm going to end it off for today's video. Hope you enjoyed it. And make sure to enjoy the rest of your evening. Stay safe. And as always, I'll be back with more tomorrow. See you then.